Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to attach chenille trim to your finishes. Now I've gotten this request quite a few times. People aren't sure what to do with their chenille or how to get it on there. I will admit that the first time I got some of this in the mail, I didn't know what to do with it either. So today I am going to just show you how I'm attaching this trim to my latest finish. This is a new pattern in my shop called Quarantine Valentine. I'll show you what you need and how I like to attach my chenille. So I've picked out two different colors that I think could go well. This one is Chianti and this green is called Lush Lawn. And I've had a hard time deciding between the two, but I think in the end I'm going with the Chianti because it is a Valentine. So what you're going to need is some regular sewing thread that sort of matches your trim. Now I am in quarantine right now, so I would probably go a little bit darker with that thread, but under my current situation, this will do. You're also going to need some sharp needles. I like using these quilters betweens. So when you're starting, I definitely don't recommend cutting your chenille. Just leave it in a nice long piece. I'm going to be forming a bow on the corner of my piece, and I want the bow to be right there. And so I'm going to leave myself a nice long tail to make that bow. I am going to leave I'm not good at making bows, and so the more I leave myself, the better. That's probably like 9 inches, which is probably ridiculous, but it's not going to hurt anybody. I'm cutting a nice long length of my thread. You hear that? That's a cardinal. I've been working on recognizing my bird sounds, and the cardinals are everywhere. So I've made several knots. I'm gonna cut my tail. So the basic idea of working with chenille is that you want to sew it to the edge of the pillow. It's not rocket science. However, you can see that chenille is pretty twisty, and that's really the only thing you need to pay attention to, is kind of keeping that twist even. And so every now and then twisting it a little bit more, or maybe untwisting it. You can also do different techniques with the chenille. I haven't tried this out personally because I like to be kind of minimalist, and chenille already is kind of a bold finish on the edge, but if you wanted to go even bolder, you could leave little loops of the chenille. Of course, that's going to make it thicker if that's something that you would like to try out. Like I said, I haven't tried that finish yet, but maybe someday. Okay, so I've left my nice long tail. I'm just going to kind of bury my knot right here on the side, and then we're going to change perspective and we're going to get real personal. I told you we were going to get real personal. Welcome to my knees. This is my biggest tip for sewing on trim. Do it between your knees. Stick that thing right between your legs and hold it still, because then you have both hands to work with. I don't have to worry about holding this up. So just like pom-poms, which if you haven't seen my mini pom-pom tutorial, you're just going to be making little stitches around the chenille. So I'll show you what I'm doing. I am taking my thread this way over it. I'm entering into the very edge of my pillow, and I am taking a diagonal stitch so that when I come up, I'm on the back. And that's just helping you to make mileage along your pillow. So I'm going to wrap it around from left to right. You can kind of move it out of the way when you're taking your next stitch just to see where you're at and where you need to go. So, taking a diagonal stitch up and getting that nice and secure. So when I go back in, I'm right across. And going up diagonally. You do get into a rhythm, especially after a few stitches and your chenille is more secure, but it does feel a little bit awkward at first. Your hands seem to be in all the wrong places. Your thread doesn't know where it wants to be. So I'm on the left. I'm going across my chenille to the other side and going up diagonally. And so far, that is looking good. Now when you get to a corner, I said this in my palm tutorial, it's no big deal. You just want to slow down and take smaller stitches. Now every now and then, I don't know if you saw that, but see how this lump is bigger than the other lumps. And so every now and then you might have to like loosen your stitches up, play with it a bit until it lays the way that you want it to lay. You might want it lumpy. I don't want it lumpy. I want it kind of even. So here's my corner, and I'm just going to take a few stitches around the bend just to make sure it lays properly. And of course there's more fabric bunched up in the corner, so it can be a little bit tricky. But nothing you can't do. Okay, I've just been stitching along and not really paying attention to the chenille. You can see exactly where my stitches are. You could leave it like that. You might even it out a bit. I'm going for a smoother look, and so I'm just gonna take the chenille and make it lay down and make it do my bidding. So I keep taking a few stitches, stopping, making sure everything looks even and neat. I find that if you want the less bumpy look of the chenille, I'm twisting this because you can see this is like a flat part. If you want a less bumpy look, you have to keep your loose stitches looser so they don't dig into the chenille as much, or you're going to be able to see your stitches, thus giving you a bumpy look. If you want a bumpy look, pull your stitches nice and tight. So the biggest challenge I find with chenille trim is just keeping the look consistent which means I have to make sure I'm making even stitches with even tension, make sure I'm twisting it evenly. You know, you don't want one side to look, you know, bumpy and textured and the other side to look more smooth. Yeah, I'd say if you're looking for a beginning trim to use, I would recommend mini palm trim, but if you like the look of chenille, go for it. It's not like it's an advanced, my needle wasn't even threaded. It's not like it's an advanced thing to use, but I find it a little bit more fiddly. I undo my stitches more often just to make sure everything's laying consistently. And undoing them is no big deal, you just back up and pull them out. But I do find chenille a little bit more time consuming to sew on than palms. And I'm getting to the end of the line, so I'm trying not to get excited and crazy. So when you get to the last few stitches, your goal is just to get the chenille to meet up. Naturally, I'm running out of thread right at the end. So I'm going to take one more stitch to try to get a complete meet up, and then I'm going to end my thread. Okay, now that my chenille is meeting up, you can see it's pretty much joined. I'm just going to take do a couple knots and end my thread. So I'm going back in, and this must just be a little dye spot which I can fill in with a marker. Going in, taking a stitch and going back in the loop to make a knot. I'll show you that closely. So I'm going in, and then before this loop closes, I just go back through, and that ties it securely. I can snip my thread. So here is my pillow with its extremely long tails. I'm going to go ahead and snip my second tail even with my first. So I have knotted my ends together just once like you would tie your shoe. I am going to tie these ends into a little bow, and I've found that the bow lays best if you do the old make two bunny ears tie. And I like my bows pretty small and non-obvious. That looks good. So I will probably snip these ends because they're ridiculously long, but that's a wrap. This is Lindy Stitch's Viral Valentine with Lady Dot Creates Chianti, not Chianti, Chianti trim. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that it was helpful. I would love to see your finishes using chenille trim. If you'd love to tag me on Instagram, I am Lindy stitches. Thanks for joining me. If you have any other tutorial suggestions, please leave them down below. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch. I will see you later, friends. Bye.